Hi guys, welcome to my channel, The Inked Reader. Today we are doing my February TBR. This is the second year that I do my shelf TBR, which means I pick a random shelf and then have to read all the unread books on that shelf. I've done a whole video explaining rules and so forth. Now the rules have been tweaked a bit, so while we go through the books, if a rule has been changed, basically I will let you know. Also, something that happened recently, and I'm gonna insert in my book unhaul that's upcoming in the next few weeks, a kind of tour of my bookshelves because I've changed them. Okay guys, I'm sorry, they were a bit messy. It was bugging me every time I looked at them, so I decided to change them around. It's still color schemed, many things are still in the same place where they were, but I got rid of a lot of stuff and also kind of made room for new books. So yeah, it has also kind of made a bit more messy, probably the shelf TBR, because some shelves are now empty and they weren't empty in the past. So what I'm gonna do is, let's pick the random shelf first of all, and if by any chance that shelf has basically no books or all the books I've already read because we were in another shelf, I kind of can tweak things around and go in a shelf that had already been, and yeah, kind of I'll made up for it, okay? So don't worry about that. And also, before I start, one big rule I need to kind of change, unfortunately, in 2023 is if I don't read all the books on that shelf, I'm gonna most likely put them back. Now, I might just, if there is just one, I might just carry on in the next month, but I'm not gonna just keep accumulating them month after month. So I also put back books that I didn't get around to read, and they had been there maybe for 2 months, and I just kept saying, oh, maybe a month I've got little to read, I can catch up, but then became overwhelming for me. And this year I do have kind of, I want to dedicate more time to also reading graphic novel and manga, which I really enjoy, but also I do have commitment in my life that I need to keep, and there are stuff I need to do in the weekend, so I've got a bit less time to read, unfortunately, which is fine, but I don't want to put the pressure on me to keep reading, or not to, you know, get stressed and seeing the books keep accumulating. So if I can read all of them, good. If I can't, they can go back on the shelf and be read eventually. It's okay. I need to take a deep breath and let that one go. It was hard to let go and to just put them back and agreeing that it was not the right time, but for my mental health this had to happen. I don't want my hobby, which is reading, it's the hobby that I love the most in the world, I don't want these to become a stress. This is just pleasure, this is just enjoyment. So yeah, just to put it out there, I'll be really clear. Some of the books, for example, from January, I just had to put them back because I couldn't get around to them. So now if they pop up in a new shelf, I'll still have another chance to read them. So random shelf, let me check how many shelves we have left. So we have 11 shelves that I should get around to read, because it's one a month, and I've got 12 left behind me. So I got a new reading journal, which I'm really taking my time in making and creating and trying to be as creative as possible. I'm someone who's very shitty at drawing, and I've never been very creative when it comes down to drawing and styling and stuff like that. All my creative goes into my writing if I decide to be creative that day. So I wanted though to kind of explore more, and I wanted to do more art, although I'm not good at it, I don't care. So I've done a new journal, and I'm making my way through it. So these are the shelves that I still have left. I need to color this in, which was the January one. It's a bit messy, sorry. But we still got, I'm gonna input 21 in the random number generator and we see how we end up. Okay, so it's me, max 21, and I'm gonna click on generate. Oh, sorry, book committed suicide again. Shelf number 1. I've actually read number 1. Yes, I've actually already read number 1. It's up there, and I've not changed much. I might though pick up one book there because I really want to read it, and it's the second book in a series. So I read the first book last year, I believe, and then, which is Royal Apprentice, sorry, and now I need to read Royal Assassin. And as I said in the January TBR, I can go back to that shelf, and there is a sequel that I need to read. I need to pick those up. So actually there are 3 sequels there that I might pick up, unless it's too much, you know, the books I need to read for the other shelves. So let's see if it's doable, but I might pick up Royal Assassin just because I really want to read it. Instead of 3, I might just pick up Royal Assassin and not the other 2, but we will see how the shelf that comes out, how bad it is. Let's generate again. 21. 21 didn't come up. So the shelf number 21, which is completely empty. There's nothing for me to show you, basically. It's at the bottom and it's empty. It's in the black books and it's empty. On my initial rules, when I did it in 2000, at the beginning of 2022, I decided that if that shelf came up, I had to go down and pick books from downstairs, the kind of reading room I have, guest bedroom, where basically I keep my non-fiction and my urban fantasy, that some of them I got from Italy because I read them back in the days, so some are in English, some are in Italian. So I've picked up books, I've picked up the 3 sequels that I had not read from the top shelf, shelf number 1, which was our first pick, and then I'm gonna show you those, and then I've picked up other 7 books from downstairs. Plus there are gonna be 2 Fairyludes, and the adult book box has come for January, but I'm waiting for the YA to do like a general unboxing, so it's gonna be 12 books in total. Is it likely? No, but I'm gonna try to get to as many as possible. I'm gonna show you the 10 that I've got, and the Fairyludes, you have to watch the unboxing to know if, you know, what they are. They're gonna be added to this TBR. So the first 3 sequels, I've got Royal Assassin, which is book number 2 in the Farseer trilogy. So this is an epic, very popular epic fantasy, coming of age, I would say, the first trilogy. I really loved the writing, as we all do, in the first book, and I was eager to continue on. These are way bigger than the first book, but I do miss fantasy and reading like an epic fantasy, so I'm looking forward to these. And very quickly, the premise in the first book, you've got this boy who is the illegitimate son of a prince who was due to inherit the throne, and then because he's got this bastard son, now he renounces the throne and go away and leaves the child behind to be raised by kind of a servant in the stable, and you kind of follow him, I guess, raising from the stable, so I don't know, the throne eventually, we will see. So I'm reading the second book of that. Can we appreciate those covers also? I'm also reading the sequel to A Natural History of Dragons. So this is the kind of memoir by Lady Trent. This is book number 2. So can we appreciate like the majestic thing that this book are? I love them so much. And this is just a historical fiction fantasy, alternative history fantasy, where you follow this lady. She is around like Victorian era, if I'm not mistaken, and she studies dragons, which are real in this world. So she goes around the world to find and analyze and draw and kind of putting together this anthology about dragons, basically. And the first one, it's very slow fantasy, but I really enjoy the writing, and it's dragons, guys. It's dragons. You can't go wrong with dragons, right? And then I've got this one. I actually bought the special edition when I saw this on Fairyloot, without realizing it was the second book in a duology. The first book is The Midnight Lie, and I don't remember anything about the first book, apart from the fact that I really enjoyed the writing, and the main protagonist, she was kick-ass. So I really wanted, at this point, I had the special edition, I had enjoyed the first book in the duology, so I will continue on. She is actually the one that wrote the Winner's Curse trilogy, which I DNF'd, didn't like it, so I was very hesitant, but I read the first one, I enjoyed it. I got this amazing, stunning special edition signed of the second. I'm gonna read it, and I think it's a dystopian YA. This girl that lives in the outskirts of the city, that you can't get in the city unless you're poor blood or something of the sort. She has magic, so she's managed to get in. And there was a lot of betrayal and stuff, and for a YA, because I own it, I want to read it, and then hopefully I like it. If not, I'm gonna think about what to do about the whole duology. Now, downstairs, as I said, I've got mostly non-fiction. I did pick up only one urban fantasy, and I was kind of debating if I wanted to continue the Anita Blake series, but I will eventually continue on the Anita Blake series, but I wanted something quick, very quick, because I've got a lot of big non-fictions that are coming. So the only urban fantasy I've picked up is Magic Strikes, which is book number 3 in the Kate Daniels series. Now, I don't read urban fantasy that much anymore, but back in the days, 16 years old Eva, when she found the Anita Blake series, then I went down a rabbit hole, and I kind of missed that a tiny bit sometimes, although when you read a lot of one genre, you kind of get fed up. So now, has been years, basically, like a year at least, I've not read a proper urban fantasy of that genre, like a lot of romance in it, and so yeah, I'm ready for this one. I don't know how to explain this apart from it's, you know, this girl hunting creatures, and in this world there are like, you know, werewolves, vampire, everybody's real, kind of like supernatural the TV show kind of world in a sense, but I think they're out there, the monsters, and she has to fight them, and there might be a romance with the lion. And honestly, I'm not into bestiality, but somehow that works because the lion is mostly human. Most of the times he's human. He's a were lion. Well, so first of all, I'm gonna read Dead Mountain. I wanted to read this for the longest time. So this is the untold true story of a Dilatov past incident. So I think when it says the untold true story, it's still slightly speculation, in the sense that this is about this bunch of people that left for this expedition, and they had to go in this mountain where creepy stuff had happened before. People have disappeared before, I believe, or maybe they were the first one, but basically they encamp one night. They put out their camp, they are just in their tents, and the next day they have disappeared. And when people tried and went to look for them, they couldn't find them. Like, they have no idea what happened, or whether there were some signs of a fight. So that's a big question. Where did these people go? Are they dead? Someone killed them? Something killed them? I don't know. And I found this so fascinating. There are pictures inside about the expedition and everything, and I'm gonna let you know more when I know more, but I'm so curious of reading this. I've missed non-fiction last year so much, so I'm so glad that this year at least I can get some non-fiction in. Then I've got one that it doesn't really have a synopsis, so I'm just gonna tell you about the title. Thinking Fast and Slow. This is an international bestseller, and this kind of series by Penguin I really loved, especially my non-fiction, especially my psychology books. I love Gladwell, for example, books, and I've found them all in these editions, and I loved them. And I think this is along those lines of explaining how we think, how our reasoning works, and how we make the decision that we make. So again, I study psychology of my life, and I love psychology is what I do, so I'm very fascinated by this. I will let you know better what this is all about once I've read it, because unfortunately there is no synopsis or anything. Then I've got Hidden Valley Road. Now this is a true story of this family. I think they kind of start having children in the 1945, so right after World War II, up until 1965, and they have 12 children and 10 boys, and these 10 boys, 6 of them are eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia, one after the other. And I think then this family is studied and just try to discover why this is happening, why so many of them have this illness. And I think it goes into the genetics, it goes into the history of schizophrenia, the mental health, and also like what happened to this family, because apparently they were a perfect family, military father, housewife, and so on, but then there was a lot of abuse and things happening to these boys. And again, as someone who's studied psychology and is very interested in mental health and a diagnosis such as schizophrenia, for example, I'm very curious to read these and find out more about this family. Then I've got The Devil You Know. This is Encounters in Forensic Psychiatry. So this is about a forensic psychiatrist or psychologist that works in a forensic prison. Forensic prison? That's the only kind of prison that works in a prison, okay? And she just basically recounts what she learned by working there, and I really hope that she also kind of, shares positive stories, because actually, again, I think it sounds like this leads me to just go into the gritty details of what I do. But yeah, basically I've studied forensic psychology, actually, and the branch of psychology that I've studied the most is forensic through my degree and master. So it's something that it's potentially a career path to choose in the future. So I'm very curious to know how is your experience of working in a prison. And the second to last one is also kind of psychological. This is the psychopath test. I've wanted to read this for the longest time, and I think this is basically this man that takes the psychopathic test. It's a test that, I don't know if it's from USA, because technically speaking, in UK at least, you can't be labeled a psychopath. Like, you can have antisocial personality disorder, basically, and the dark triad of it. So I don't know if this is a test that is in USA, it's used to diagnose psychopathy, I don't know. But basically it says that this test, a lot of people will score pretty high in this test, from my understanding of synopsis. And so it kind of delves more into that, and I think it's very fascinating, and I think I'm gonna keep all my thoughts for the review of this, because actually like I've some colleagues at university that study this thing and these tests, and they have very fascinating theories about them. So it's very nice for me now to be able to read these and then remember all I've studied in the masters and people I've interacted with that were actually very interested in these and studied these in detail, and kind of see if what they told me resonates with what this man is gonna tell me in this book. I don't know, I'm fascinated about these a lot. As you can say, I'm very excited about all of these books. And finally, I'm gonna finish with actually a non-fiction, and it's about history, which is, I love history, and especially Roman and ancient Greek and medieval, probably third place is my favorite history. So this is SPQR, A History of Ancient Rome. Now, you know, I'm Italian, so I've studied a lot of history and a lot of Italian history growing up in primary and secondary school and so forth, and high school. So I have an idea of the history and development of Rome, but I'm very curious to read an in-detail book about that. I'm very curious to refresh my memory about stuff I've not studied in 10 years, if not more now. Yeah, 20, I wish it was 10. Like, yeah, 15, let's say 15 is fair enough. 15 years, and I love Rome. I've been to Rome, which is a beautiful city, amazing city. One of my favorite cities in Italy to visit is Rome. So yeah, looking forward to kind of delve into the history of Rome more, refresh my memory, learn new stuff. There are pictures inside these, maps and so on. Also, like, after this I will probably have to go and watch The Gladiator again, because why not, right? I'm very happy for February. It's the month of my birthday, and I feel like I gifted myself a perfect TBR for this month. I love nonfiction and I've missed so much. It was one of my complaints when I wrapped up 2022. It seems like destiny was kind with me this month and said, Eva, you know what, it's your birthday, I'm gonna let you read all the juicy books you want to read. Let me know what you're gonna read in February. Let me know if you've read any of them, the ones I've just showed you. Please no spoilers, because again, I've not read them yet by the time you're watching this. So let's discuss in the comments down below. If you're new, I would love for you to subscribe. I hope you take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!